On the field. Off the field. Sports talk. Entertainment and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 121 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shaventone.
Drake, today I'm coming off a take.
What's the take?
The Cowboys will not make it to the Super Bowl.
The Cowboys will not make it to the Super Bowl.
No, I have vague logic in this.
Okay. The fact that they lost to Kirk Cousins in prime time at home?
That helps. But do you think Adam Thielen was a top 5 players from the Vikings? Vikings are pretty talented. We'll go top 10 player. Vikings, very important player.
Yeah, he's a top 5 or probably top 10 receiver in the league.
Okay.
Top probably 3 player on the Vikings per position.
Okay, then how last night Cowboys lost. Do you think Devontae Adams is a top 5 player on the Packers?
Yes, absolutely.
They didn't have Devontae Adams. Cowboys lost. Do you think Drew Brees is a top 1 player on the Saints?
Yes.
Didn't have him. Still lost. So, all the NFC teams, all going to be in the playoffs. This just comes down to the funnel of Cowboys not going to win anything.
Do you know that saying that you're standing too close to the trees to see the forest?
Yep. To see the trees.
The forest to see the trees? Okay. That's where I think you were with the Cowboys take. Because what was your reason that you did not like the Vikings as a team to go to the Super Bowl this year? Didn't put them in the contender card.
Kirk
Cousins.
Yeah.
And why was that?
He didn't get them before?
Doesn't get it done.
No, he does not.
Not in prime time.
No.
But yet, Jason Garrett.
Man, he's not good.
He's just not good.
Yeah, we'll get more to him here in a second. But
yes,
yeah,
I'm glad you're coming off that take. Now we can sit here and just trash the Cowboys together, and we can be happy, and we can talk about how they will be pesky, they'll be tough, they'll run the ball with Ezekiel Elliott 20 times, he'll get 100 yards, they'll win those games, and games that they won't, they will lose, obviously. So. Dippers, be sure to listen on Spotify and iTunes. Download, subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and follow on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. So today we will have our Week 10 recap. I'm sure the Dallas Cowboys will make an appearance there. We will talk more in length about the Cowboys at some point. Get to our Week 10 storylines. Talk a little bit about college football. We had LSU beating Alabama and Minnesota beating Penn State. Talk with our college football preview to this upcoming week. Give you some of the best bets that we have for the week. Hit on a little bit of NBA news. There's actually a really hot topic in college or in the NBA. Very funny topic. We're going to have a fun segment for the sake of Dion Waiters. And, as always, our saucy six-pack to end off the show. So, latency. Started off like we always do in football season. NFL Word Association recap for Week 10. Biggest winner.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins?
Definitely. Yep.
My biggest winners. Oakley, sunglasses. So they already had Patrick Mahomes showing up as the basically poster child for Oakley. Every Oakley ad you ever seen, they had Patrick Mahomes as their guy. Obviously, getting a paid endorsement this week. Lamar Jackson sitting on the sidelines of the game becomes a meme immediately. Sitting there with some Oakley shades that I doubt Lamar Jackson sports. They were the all-time cop shades, or the baseball player shades, just sitting there on the sidelines. Free ad for Oakley, and it's going to be a meme that's going to follow Lamar Jackson throughout his entire career.
There's definitely just some ball boys glasses. And more hey dude, son's bad as shit. Can I wear your glasses?
Is that the most lovable thing that Lamar Jackson's done?
Yeah, probably.
Absolutely. Dude, I feel like we don't ever get to hear him talk.
We don't talk to him, yeah.
Well, because, whenever he was in college, you didn't really hear him speak at all, and then all of a sudden he gives his, his acceptance speech for the Heisman, and people are kind of turned off from him, and now, we're seeing this whole new side of the guy. He's a lovable guy.
Yeah, he's
lovable
nice
guy. Biggest loser.
Jason Garrett. Yesterday after the game, Jerry Jones talking to the media, and about 5 minutes time, he mentioned how good Mike Zimmer and the coaching staff of the Vikings did. 4 times in 5 minutes. Did not mention how good Garrett did once.
Everybody that expects quarterbacks to take the next step. How many times preseason do you hear, oh, this quarterback, we're expecting him to take the next step. Oh, this guy, he has to take the next step. Every single next step quarterback won this week. Jameis Winston. Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Mitch Trubisky, Derek Carr all won, and even Marcus Mariota won a game. All quarterbacks that we talk about every single offseason. Can they take the next step? Biggest surprise?
Dolphins win back-to-back games.
That actually is probably the biggest surprise of the season.
Yep, one being on the road.
Patrick Mahomes becomes the second quarterback ever to throw for at least 446 yards, 72% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and lose. The other quarterback to do so? Kirk Cousins, when he was with the Redskins. Biggest disappointment?
Brian Hoyer and the Colts.
Green Bay and Carolina didn't go to overtime, so we were snubbed of overtime in the snow. That's got to be the biggest disappointment. That's, I'm obviously...
Especially since the first kick missed, but they called the guy for being over the center.
Yes.
And then they made the next one.
Yes. Such a bummer. Absolute bummer. And it's kind of funny, too, because you and I, we were sitting there watching the game, and obviously I root against the Packers every single week, so I wanted the game to go to overtime so they could lose. More importantly, I looked at you, I'm like, I just want overtime.
Yeah.
I want overtime because I love snow football. Hopefully we're getting more of that. Impact injury.
Matthew Stafford.
Absolutely has to be Matthew Stafford. How tough is Matthew Stafford that the fact that this didn't even come out until basically Saturday, and then now they're saying, oh yeah, we think he'll be ready to go for next week.
But then it's a really serious back injury.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
Matthew Stafford, dude, tough as nails. Dude, death taxes Matthew Stafford starting 16 games. That should have been a thing.
He's a tough guy.
Tough
guy. Those are dad bod for you. Talk about it last week. Those are dad bod for you.
Yes, absolutely. Next up, WTF moment of Week 10.
Matthew Stafford had a serious back injury and just no one knew about it until Saturday of last week.
Yes.
What the fuck, beat writers? You have one job.
You have one job. Do you know my biggest WTF moment? The number 15. 15 is the amount of combined teams that Brian Hoyer and Ryan Fitzpatrick have played for, and they dueled it out this week. Those teams, the Patriots, Steelers, Cardinals, Browns, Texans, Bears, 49ers, Colts, Rams, Bengals, Bills, Titans, Jets, Buccaneers, and the Dolphins. They'd only played for one team combined at the same time, so I didn't count that one. 15 different NFL franchises that either Hoyer or Fitzpatrick had played for. That's absolutely
That's so
crazy.
many teams.
Yes.
They call it journeyman.
Yes, absolutely. The journeyman game. Overreaction.
Lamar Jackson, a combination of Michael Vick, Peyton Manning, and Barry Sanders, could dominate the Cincinnati Bengals.
Adam Gase has officially figured out his offense. He had 8 touchdowns coming into this week. They are now at 11. I absolutely love that you hit on that. Every single time Lamar Jackson plays a bad team, Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback. Lamar Jackson is
a very good athlete.
And he's different than what we've seen in the NFL. He's going to win you some games. But every single time Lamar Jackson plays a terrible team, he absolutely lights them up.
Destroys them.
Absolutely lights them up.
He's playing in college again.
Yes, and, I don't think it's very necessary to continue to just run him, bust out the formation where you have 2 running backs in the backfield. Now people are or 2 quarterbacks in the backfield. Now people are going to know what to expect. They've seen it, and you use that whenever you're up 14-3 against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Did you remember yesterday whenever they had RG3 in the backfield?
That's the play I'm talking about.
Did you realize they had Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson, and RG3 all 3 in the backfield?
All Heisman winners.
Oh, that's nuts.
I think
that's
that
really
was
weird.
one of the only 6 plays that have ever been ran that were like that. And that's all they were getting after there.
Oh, yeah.
Just flexing that muscle.
That's really weird.
And it seems like Harbaugh has done that over and over this year, just trying to flex his muscle and the time that he's finally getting to do it whenever he was on the hot seat just a year ago. And it's kind of weird to me that he does it against bad teams. I think back to the fake punt against the Dolphins when they were absolutely crushing him. I think he's putting too many cards on the table. And whenever it comes playoff time, I think it's going to show.
At some point in time in the season, we're going to see a read option pass with a pitch to RG3 pass it back to Lamar Jackson. That's going to be a thing.
I'm absolutely, and I'm all for it.
And it's going to happen on Madden, and no one way to figure it out.
It's only going to be if they get to play the Bengals again. Or maybe, another terrible team. If they get to play the Jets or the Giants. They won't do it against good teams, but they will absolutely make the bad teams pay every single time.
So you think they're showing the hand a little too much?
Absolutely. Against bad teams, too.
Do you think it takes some notice out of Bill Belichick's book and maybe throw some games here?
I don't know about throw some games, but I think handing the ball off to Mark Ingram probably 20 times yesterday would have probably done them some good, or even just Gus Edwards just to beat them.
You have any thoughts for us?
Yes, I do. Death, taxes, and Jason Garrett losing primetime football games. Death, taxes, and Dak Prescott losing games that Zeke doesn't have 100 yards rushing in. In fact, they were 1-3 this year whenever he doesn't go for 100 yards. They beat the Giants. And he's 1-9 over his career whenever Zeke doesn't have 75 yards. Deion Waiters, inventor of the Mile Highest organization. Deion Waiters pulled a Deion Waiters. Ryan Tannehill, apparently the next step was in Nashville, Tennessee. College Football Playoff Committee. Their eye test, as I picture it, is a 60-year-old man standing in a panic room looking at a TV like Jameis Winston trying to get play calls from the sidelines. Sean McVay. It only took us 2.5 seasons to realize that scoring 40 points in a game and giving Todd Gurley 30 touches was not sustainable. Sean McVay was so good that he got a guy a job because he talked to him in a coach's meeting for 20 minutes, gave the Bengals enough courage to fire Marvin Lewis, and now that man is 0-9. How do you get Kirk Cousins to win a primetime game? Let Jason Garrett coach the other team. Jason Garrett, so confident that he would be the guy to figure out how to use Tavon Austin correctly. I don't think making him fair catch a possible touchdown is what I would call using Tavon Austin correctly. Thought of the week. If every game was played in the conditions of Green Bay and Carolina this week, and no player could run at their full speed, and everyone is as fast as 34-year-old Greg Olsen, he'd have 200 catches, 2,000 yards, and 20 touchdowns every single season. There's a new book out this week, and it is titled The Next Step, and it was written by our Week 10 NFL quarterbacks. And those have been my thoughts. All right, Latency, so let's go ahead and get to some Week 10 storylines. Lamar Jackson, making it look like we have to eat crow at this point, becomes the 6th quarterback in NFL history to have a perfect passer rating in multiple games. Those guys, Peyton Manning, Kurt Warner, Big Ben, they all have 3. Tom Brady, Craig Morton, and Lamar Jackson all now have 2. Are we going to have to bend the knee and deem Lamar Jackson a franchise quarterback?
Yeah, so like we just talked about a few moments ago, you said he's an excellent quarterback. I respond with he's an excellent athlete, as it means that it's something we've never really seen before. But since we've never seen that before, I like Lamar Jackson as a franchise quarterback right now. Will I like him as a franchise quarterback in 4 years? I don't know. Because when you play, he takes a lot of hits. And like you always see the young quarterback be very mobile. You don't see many old quarterbacks be very mobile.
No, and I agree with that. You know, last year we were really the first guys on the train like, hey, you know, you have to put out Lamar Jackson and go with Joe Flacco. And even after the first couple games, whenever Flacco came out, like, Lamar Jackson sparked the team, the offense looked a lot different, and they were better. So right now, yes, Lamar Jackson is the obvious answer. Like, he is doing a great job quarterbacking for the Ravens. But I went back over the entirety of the NFL, and I looked at quarterbacks that had succeeded running the ball. And I got to the conclusion of Cam Newton. You know, I brought down like the guys all-time running quarterbacks. You know, you have Cam Newton, Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick, Fran Tarkenton even. You can almost wipe him out just because he was a guy who played 18 seasons.
Yeah.
Really didn't run the ball as much, and it was an old-school brand of football back then. Cam Newton, 30 years old, and now we're questioning whether or not he's going to, be able to come back to what he was. You look at Randall Cunningham. After the age of 28, Randall Cunningham had 1 season of actual football where he played all 16 games. Played at a very high level, but it was 1 season after the age of 28. You look at even Steve Young. He had 3 seasons. Steve Young, Hall of Famer Steve Young, 3 seasons where he played all 16 games. He had 9 seasons where he had 10-plus starts. So you look at what we're getting to, and even like Michael Vick, he had 1 season where he played all 16 games, only had 7 seasons where he had played 10 games. I know that you could say, well, his career was cut short because 2 years he was in prison. Wipe that out the window. Michael Vick probably wouldn't have been any healthier had that been the case. Mm-hmm. And maybe you could even make the argument that it resurged his career, giving him extra time at the end to kind of heal up. guys like this aren't sustainable for a long time. Lamar Jackson's going to be great, especially 22-year-old Lamar Jackson. And, you have a football team right now with the Ravens. Their championship window is there. You have to strike on it. You might as well just go ahead and use it and abuse it. And everybody wants to use this analogy for running backs. Like, yeah, you get a running back on the rookie deal, you go ahead and you just run him into the ground, and then, once he comes off that rookie deal, you go ahead and just find the next guy. Mm-hmm. Why should it be any different for the quarterback position? Why try to make Lamar Jackson a pocket passer at this point? Use what you're doing. You might win a Super Bowl this year. You might win a Super Bowl in the next 3 or 4. But honestly, after he gets to about 28 to 30, I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to be the same player that he is. And I can almost... History tells me that he will not be.
Yeah, and I think John Harbaugh realizes that. We noticed it from Marcus Peters earlier in the season. They also tried to trade for Jamal Adams from the Jets, but the price was too high. So that just tells me that he knows he might not have Lamar Jackson in 3 years. He knows what's going to happen to him. But right now, the team can win it all, and he wants to go for it. So they know it, and think it's able to kind of just realize Lamar Jackson, like, he's not going to be a pocket passer. Well, I can't say never. He could be, but...
He could, eventually, but it's not looking like it.
It's a huge transition for that to happen.
Yes, and you look, like what you said, in the offseason, what have they done? They've traded for Marcus Peters. They went out, they signed Earl Thomas. They signed Mark Ingram, who's 30 years old, which we know is almost a death sentence for running backs. Like, everything that they've done so far has proved to me that they are in win-now mode. So running Lamar Jackson 10, 15 times in football games in games that are even blowouts, It's not that surprising. It's really not. This team wants to win now. And everybody that, is worried about Lamar Jackson in 10 years, like, you're not the ones calling the plays. You're not the ones trying to win a championship right now. And I'm sure if Lamar Jackson wins a championship now, but isn't able to play, at this high level at 30, I think he's going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because really, quarterbacks really don't make it there anyways.
Yeah, he'll get the one big paycheck still.
Oh, yeah, he'll get the one.
He'll get the one, then he'll be happy with it.
Yes. So, 2 weeks ago, we discussed the Titans might actually be good with Ryan Tannehill. Now, let's go ahead and discuss them beating the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs more mediocre than what we originally thought, or are the Titans an actual force to be reckoned with in the AFC?
Didn't we have the same grade about the Titans last week?
Yes. Well, we talked about... It was 2 weeks ago. That's what I said. We thought that the Titans might actually be decent with Brian Tannehill. Now they have that win, against the Chiefs. Do you think that they might actually be good, like legitimately good, not just beating bad teams good?
So, I think the Titans are a good football team, and their style of play allows them to play with anybody. As long as they can keep running the ball for first downs, like, that's just football as it is. You can run the ball, control the time of possession, and get first downs. You can play with anybody. And that's what happened yesterday. And then just what happened, Tannehill stepped the fuck up. And
finally,
in the fourth quarter, he had to, and let him beat him on a second touchdown.
See, I know I'm always talking about Ryan Tannehill actually being a good quarterback, but I feel like we didn't learn anything this week that we already didn't know. We knew the Chiefs can't stop the run. We know that whenever Derrick Henry gets going, like, the Titans are a force to be reckoned with, and the Titans can beat anybody whenever Derrick Henry's actually firing on all cylinders. I actually ran back the stats on Derrick Henry. He's played in 57 career games. He has 6 100-yard performances. 6. The Titans are 6-0 in those games.
Wow.
We learned absolutely nothing.
Weird.
And it's a guy that, if Derrick Henry, if his first 5 carries go for, 30, 40 yards, Titans are probably going to win that game. If he can't run the ball, they're going to be in absolute trouble. So I even ran it back further. He has 6 100-yard games. He has 11 games where he didn't even get to 3 yards a carry.
That's really weird.
That's very, very weird.
Like,
because you watch...
For as huge as he is, you think he just fall forward, exactly. Just run as hard as he can and fall forward.
Yeah, if you watched him this week, you'd have thought, oh man, this Derrick Henry guy, probably the best running back in the NFL. But only when he gets going.
Yeah.
Only when he gets going. 2 games, over 180 yards now in his career, and he only has 6 100-yard games. Kind of weird. Do you think that the Chiefs are really not as good as what we thought?
So their defense is obviously a human concern.
Terrible.
But they didn't have Frank Clark this week, and they didn't have the tackle. What's his name?
I was wanting to say D Ford, but I know he's not on the team anymore.
Yeah, but the good defensive tackle they had also out. So they're going to come back and they're 100%. If they get to 100%, then you could see some things change. But that defense has to stop somebody because you can't always just lean on your offense to score points.
No, and what they did this week is not a style to win football games in the postseason, especially once it starts getting cold. If you have to go on the road, even you play in Kansas City, not the warmest environment in the United States, teams will run the ball, and the Colts or the Chiefs are very susceptible to being ran all over. So the Saints, the Colts, and the Bills all fell to teams with 2 or fewer wins. They lost to the Falcons, Dolphins, and Browns, respectively, in very ugly fashion, as a matter of fact. Which of these teams should be most concerned of their loss?
Man. I'm going to go with the Bills because look at the Saints, teams are having to lose some game. The Saints should win the game
Every
yesterday.
team loses a divisional game they shouldn't lose.
They said the Saints should win the game yesterday, but they never got things going. And then with the Bills, though, playing the Browns, the Bills are a team where you always know in the back of your mind that they're not that good.
They're not that good.
And we went through their schedule, I think, a month ago now, and we chalked it for them having 10 or 11 wins, and they could still have that because they play the easiest schedule left in the season, probably. So I'm going to go with the Bills.
Yeah, I think this is a definite Bills. You have to be the most concerned. I mean, you look at the Saints, like, that's just a wash. Like, that's not going to happen to the Saints all year. You lose one divisional game almost every year that you shouldn't lose. The Colts, they lost with a backup their third-string quarterback who had 3 picks, who threw the ball on 4th down to lose the game short of the sticks. They were in field goal range. Adam Vinatieri missed an extra point earlier, which they would have been able to tie the game up. Just an absolute weird loss for the Colts. But you look at what the Bills did. Anytime they play a team that has a pulse, their wins have come against the Jets, Giants, Bengals, the Mariota-led Titans who scored 7 points, Dolphins, and Redskins. None of those teams even have a pulse. They played the Eagles. The Eagles obviously have a pulse. They'll fight you to the end. You play the Patriots. Patriots going to beat you almost every time they play you. And the Browns. The Browns aren't a good football team, but with Baker Mayfield at under center and the skill players that they have a pulse. It's a team that will fight back. And the Browns, or the Bills, they are 0-3 against teams that actually have a pulse. So I think this is bad things to look. This is something to look at down the stretch. They will continue to lose even to just mediocre teams that have a pulse, but they will beat the absolute terrible teams. I think the Bills are only 6-3 right now just because of their schedule.
Yeah, definitely.
Have to be. It is the biggest pretender that I've seen in quite some time in football, to be quite honest. So let's go ahead and look at the Raiders and Steelers. They both flexed their defensive muscle this week against the LA football powerhouses, and they plant their records at 5-4 and tied for the second wild card spot in the AFC. Which of these two teams do you give the edge down the stretch to make a wild card spot?
So I'm going to go with the Raiders. The Steelers, I think Fitzpatrick, they've been really good. Rudolph did a whole lot better, but James Conner is banged up. And we said, Mason Rudolph. With the Raiders, you get John Gruden. And John Gruden, everybody knows he's the easiest guy in football to laugh at, but the team is buying into him. And the Raiders are actually a good football team. Like, they are way ahead of what I thought they were going to be at this point early in the season. Like, I did not think come week 10 that they would be mentioned in the playoffs, but they had a legitimate chance to actually make the thing.
See, I'm actually going to go with the Steelers on this one, and I think I have some room to stand on here, and I think this is a team that might actually even make a little bit of noise in the postseason. So they've only lost 2 games since they got Minkah Fitzpatrick. That was an overtime game against the Ravens where Juju Smith-Schuster fumbled the ball, and that realistically won't happen again. So they lost that game in overtime against a team that we're looking at as one of the best teams in the NFL. They lost by 4 points to the 49ers, which everybody's crowned them as the NFL champions at this point. Super Bowl champ, NFL 49ers, they've lost. Those are the only 2 games that they've lost. You look at the back end of their schedule here. Their schedule is almost laughable. They play the Browns, the Bengals, the Browns again, the Cardinals, the Bills, the Jets, and then they finish it with the Ravens. They play one team that is legitimately good down the stretch, and that's the only reason why I'm picking this Steelers team. This Steelers team, obviously, they're gonna bore you to death on offense, but they know what they are. And that's the one thing that I can say about this Steelers team that a lot of teams in the NFL don't have. They have an identity, they know how they need to win these games, and they're sticking to that script. And so far, that's worked for Mason Rudolph with dink and dunk passes, giving 13 receptions to Jalen Samuels, giving Juju Smith-Schuster the open throws whenever they're there, run the ball about 30 times, get off the field, let your defense take care of business. And I think this is a defense that's very similar to the one they had in Chicago last year and with the Jaguars 2 years ago. And it's a defense that can take you all the way to the playoffs and possibly even win you games. The offense is absolutely terrible, but I think that this back-end schedule sets it up perfectly to where they can get into the postseason, though. You think that there's any way that the Steelers run down the Ravens with this schedule?
They could because of the schedule. But the Ravens, they all 2 games up right now?
They're 2 games up right now. They play 1 game at the end, and the Ravens' schedule is actually really tough over the next few. I think they get a game against the Texans this week, and then there's another tough game in there. I think the 49ers as well over the next 3.
So they could, but I think the Steelers would have to basically win out for that to happen, and I just don't see the Steelers winning out.
Yeah, I think the
If the
Steelers...
Steelers do win out, though, holy shit. Mike Tomlin should get Coach of the Year.
I think they have one possible game that they could lose. One game that they could possibly lose up into the Ravens game. I think Week 17, we're going to be sitting here talking about how this completely inept Steelers offense has led them to a game that they could possibly win the division with against the Ravens. What a game, though. Dude, that Ravens-49ers game's going to be killer.
It is.
I'm excited to see that one. So, latency. It is time for the staple of the show. It is time to play some darts. What game do you have for us today?
Picked last week. You won it again this week. Look-alike game.
A look-alike game. Okay. So the way that this works, we'll throw a dart at a dartboard. Each number on the dartboard represents something different. This week, it will be a player, coach, somebody that is revolved in the world of sports, and we will talk about what this guy looks like, what he would possibly be doing outside of sports, anything to draw this guy outside of the world of sports. So, latency, your throw. And we have a 3.
A 3 is Edwards on.
Oh, Coach O.
Okay, so let's see, Coach O.
How about Coach O? Dude, what about his locker room speech?
That was
How does
great.
that get out?
Because, they were cool. It kind of like found out that he beat Mexicans from the corner store.
That's true.
Mall Walls. People talk, man.
Yeah, nothing surprises me about Coach O.
No. See, so Coach O, what would he do? Man. So such an intense guy.
Yeah, in the
What's
Cajun
the most
accent.
intense job? Like a bull angler? A bull angler?
I think I have one. I think I might have one. I think, okay, so you go down to your New Orleans vacation, and what do you want to do? You are wanting to go do a gator tour, where you go around and basically you get on a fan boat, they take you around, and you go look at all the alligators. You go on the swamp tour. You're looking around. Oh, there's an alligator over there. There's an alligator over there. But Coach O, I think he would be the guy that would be the tour guide that takes it to an absolute extreme, where you have a gator getting up on the boat, and he's starting to climb up. Coach O reaches over there, and he just grabs him and just pushes him off. And just he's the guy that just smacks the gator on the head and pushes him off the boat. Where everybody else is fearing for their lives, he just walks over there, treats it like it's like a pet dog, and just walks over, oh, hey, get down, boy, and just throws him off the boat.
He wants that fun. Let's make him a gator wrestler.
A gator wrestler? I honestly could see that.
Say, like, he has a whole business about him fucking with gators.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
His whole business involved about him playing with gators.
His job would basically be a tour guide that's just doesn't really care about the tour as much as he likes just going out there and messing with the gators.
Yeah, is there any coach that looks and sounds like their college more than Arizona looks and sounds like LSU?
Dude, he is more Mike the Tiger than Mike the Tiger himself.
Like, he would never leave there on his own terms.
No.
Ever.
No, Ed Orgeron, dude, they could offer him $1 billion at some other school, and I legitimately don't think that he would go there. And Ed Orgeron, I had a good one, but it slipped my mind on Coach O. Hopefully it comes back to me, because I had another avenue that we could take Coach O, but I really think wrestling gators down in the bayou is really the only avenue Coach O would be able to take at this point. All right, my throw. And we have an 8.
8 is Mike Leach.
Ooh, Mike Leach. Okay. Mike Leach, what would he look like? Man. I really can't get any further than just like a guy who works at a fast food restaurant who happens to be the manager. You know what I'm saying? Like the manager of a fast food
It
restaurant.
has to be KFC though.
Yeah, like a KFC. I was kind of thinking like a Popeyes, where he's just like chilling in the back. Like you're like, oh, I want to talk to the manager, and then out comes waddling out Mike Leach, who's a guy who, obviously doesn't give a shit if you are, if you're satisfied or not. He's in with the company. He's going to retire in 3 years, no matter what. And that's really with Mike Leach. What you see is what you get. He's got the little Popeyes hat on. He's walking around, just moseying through the store, ask you how your food's doing, and really he doesn't really care.
Yeah, I like that. He could also be like the Long John Silver pirate, like the mascot.
Oh, he would make a great pirate.
Like
He loves
Captain
pirates.
D's.
Do you know he loves pirates?
None of those pirates.
Oh yeah, Mike Leach, absolute big pirate guy.
So-
Long John Silver's would be the place for him.
So should ECU be on the lookout for a new coach?
ECU,
Should be
well-
making calls.
That's where he got Gardner Minshew from.
Uh oh.
I think he was looking in a little too deep. So, next throw. And we have a 12.
12. Staying on the coaches, Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien. Man, what does Bill O'Brien look like?
Texan great, former Patriot coordinator. Bill O'Brien.
Offensive guru. Dude, whenever I think of him, that's all I can think of is offensive guru. Quarterback whisperer.
Quarterback whisperer,
That's-
exactly, yeah.
I really think that's all he is. Like,
No, that's all he wants to be. He hasn't really been one. Deshaun Watson happened to be a stud. We all remember Tom Savage.
yeah, we remember the years of Tom Savage, and they had some laughable quarterbacks. The Brock Osweiler years, like he that's all he is. He's a quarterback whisperer, and that's all. Whenever I see him, that's all I think of whenever I look at him. So I don't think that I can say that he looks like anything else and then a quarterback whisperer. And I think that's a knock on him more than anything else, because it's a joke that people call him a quarterback whisperer.
Bill O'Brien looks like the guy who pulls up to buy a used trailer off of Craigslist and gets mad at you because not just like the pictures.
Oh my goodness.
And
100%.
And then he fights you and then drives out without the trailer.
Yes, comes in. The trailer is exactly as advertised. You even put on the Craigslist ad, like, it's missing a taillight. You take a picture of the taillight, you put it on there, and Bill O'Brien didn't happen to scroll through the pictures that you'd provided for him. He gets mad that the taillight is out, and he does not buy the trailer. Drove 45 minutes to get that trailer, goes home empty-handed. Swings by Long John Silver's on the way home, picks up a chicken plank from Mike Leach, drives home.
The funny thing about this is, I actually have a story for you after the show about somebody who went to buy a trailer and not get the trailer. But it's way followed out in 45 minutes. But we'll get to that after the show.
I'm all aboard for that. I love good Craigslist stories. All right, last throw. A 19.
A 19 is Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan. BMX rider, dude.
He does like BMX rider. He got kind of like the forever 5 o'clock shadow. You can see
Where's
him,
the flat bills?
You can
Where's
see
the
him with
vest?
the curly hair. Yep, BMX rider. That's,
Yeah,
that's big. X Games. Anything involved with the X Games.
Yes, not even BMX, just anything X Games related. Like, dude, every time that they go ahead and, like, do a 49ers interview, like, he has the flat bill on that is not team issued. Like, no team in the world has issued a thing of this. Like, you would think that it's a monster. Really, what I think he does, he takes a 49ers logo, plants it on the top of the monster logo, and then he rolls out there for the game. That's exactly what he is.
Yeah. Was he wearing all white one week?
Oh, yeah, all white. Dude, I legitimately expect him to walk out for his press game interview or his post game interview with a monster can in his hand, or Rockstar can. Like, that is actually more fitting for the 49ers logo. I mean, the red, the black, the gold. He walks out there and he's just got a Rockstar can in his hand, talking about how his offense just dropped 45 points and threw the ball 4 times.
Yep. Look what it is.
I absolutely love that. I'm glad that we got 4 coaches.
Yeah.
4 good coaches that actually they look like something. And I think we nailed it.
Look at people.
Yeah, they do. Happy to look like people. All right, so latency. Week 11, college football. LSU puts on an offensive clinic on Alabama this week and beats the Tide in Tuscaloosa. Does this validate LSU as the best team in the country?
Yeah, because it was the best win any team's had this year, specifically because it came on the road at Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And you watch this game, it could have been much worse than what it was. Like, Alabama has a or a punt return, go for a touchdown. Alabama has two just basically rainbow throws from Tua Tagovailoa that go for touchdowns that were like 70 yards apiece. Without those scores, Alabama really didn't have any offense going. This game could have been much worse than what it was. And really, I know the score was within one score. It could have been much worse than that because Alabama just happened to have 3 huge plays that put them in the end zone where LSU just methodically beat them down on offense. Does this win solidify Joe Burrow as the Heisman winner?
I made this question more fun for us.
Okay, let's go.
How badly does he have to play to not win the Heisman? Can I talk about that today? How poorly must he play over the next 3 games to lose the Heisman Trophy?
It just depends. Who's his opponents? Do you have LSU's next 3 opponents up? I'll pop them up real quick.
Okay. Because I think about today, like if he goes out there and throws for 250 yards, 2 picks in each game, there's still only 6 interceptions.
Okay. He gets Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Texas A&M to rally off the end of the year.
And he gets the title game, which will affect the Heisman Trophy voting.
I really don't know if there's a route for him to lose this thing unless they lose 2 games.
Right. Yeah, the lose games, or he just plays just unimaginably bad, which they go hand in hand.
Yes, they're not going to lose a game that he plays good in. So they're going to have 2 really bad losses. I think he could really go out there in one game, throw for $150, have 2 picks, lose the game, and still win the Heisman at this point. Like, dude, he's putting up all-time numbers. Did you realize that his completion percentage is almost 80%?
Wow, that's a lot.
And he's played 4 teams that are ranked in the top 10. 4. They've beat Texas, who was ranked 9 at the time. They beat Florida, who was ranked 7 at the time. Auburn, who was ranked 9 at the time. And then Bama, who was ranked 2 at the time. And if you look at what other teams have done, there's not another team out there that's had 2 top wins other than Georgia. I really don't think there is. He's had 4 Heisman moments, and guys usually don't have that. Usually it's 1 win in Alabama, and the guy has 4 separate Heisman moments. He has a 78.9 completion percentage, which is the highest in a season in college football history. The guy that is closest to him is Colt McCoy. In 2008, had a 76.7 completion percentage. Joe Burrow, his yards per attempt, because those things usually go hand in hand. Usually, if you're completing a lot of passes, your yards per attempt are super low.
Yep. Joe Flacco.
Not even yards per catch. Yards per attempt. It's 10.7. 10.7, and he's setting the record for completion percentage in a college football season. And that Colt McCoy season where he had 76.7, Colt McCoy had a 7.5 yards per attempt. That is 3 yards lower than what Joe Burrow's doing right now, and he's completing the ball at just an unreal level. In the first half, he had 1 incompletion against Alabama. I think it's an absolute lock. I think it's the easiest bet. I feel like we were talking about how, Jalen Hurts was probably going to win the Heisman, but that was like 6 weeks ago. Here we are, week 11 or week 12 heading into it, and the guy has an 80% completion percentage. And really, those next 3 games, it's probably going to go up.
Yeah.
It's probably going to go up.
That's really impressive. That's really good.
It's
really amazing what's happened at LSU, too, because they brought in the new OC, coming in the name right now. Coach always said, okay, run your spread offense. And Joe Burrow's giving him the Heisman, top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Future Chicago Bear quarterback.
If he's not the number 1 quarterback off the board, I do not know what people are evaluating at this point. I don't know what more you want out of a quarterback in the NFL if he doesn't go number 1. So does this loss solidify that Alabama won't be in the college football playoff, or do you think that they're an absolute lock if they win out?
So they're ranked 4th in the country. So right now,
but that's
for
not
the AP.
For the AP,
they're 4th. Tomorrow night they'll be 5th. They'll be 5th. So the door's still open. So if LSU loses, but no, they won't get in. I don't think, because they won't be in a championship game. They won't have that extra game that everybody else always has. And in years past, we've seen teams just lose and Bama pop in, Ohio State pop in. Ohio State won it all. This year, I don't think it's going to happen. So I think Alabama is officially out. And even worse, that loss came at home. If that came at LSU, and then LSU loses the game down the road, you can maybe make a case for it. But that came in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I agree with this. And, you talk about, well, they can build a resume out throughout the end of the season. Guys, they play Mississippi State, then they turn around and play West Carolina, then they play Auburn. Auburn's ranked 13th. That's going to be a good win if they pick it up. But if they beat that Auburn team, if Georgia beats Auburn this week, and then Alabama turns around and beats Auburn in the last week in their last game of the football season, that is now a 4-loss Auburn team. 4-loss Auburn team, and that is going to be their best win on their resume. They did beat Texas A&M while Texas A&M was ranked 24 earlier in the season. Texas A&M no longer ranked. Texas A&M, we question whether or not they're even a top 25 team, if they're a good football team, if that was a good win. It was a fine win, but was it a good win? I don't see how this team makes it in if everything holds out and teams win the games that they should win, unless there's going to be a substantial upset like Ohio State losing a game that they shouldn't. It's going to take a lot of work. I still think they're going to put them in, even if like a team like Baylor freaking runs the table. And it is going to be the biggest slap in the face to the Big 12, to all of college football.
Well, Oklahoma, the Big 12 can't get a team in. You can have a team that ranks right now. It's impossible for them to, because SEC, Big 10, Pac-12, and what's the other one? SEC, Clemson, all ranked ahead of Oklahoma and Baylor. So unless those teams lose 2 games, they can't get in. It's impossible.
I mean, we're looking at Oregon and Utah, who I think the winner of that game, if both teams only have 1 loss going into the college football, going into their Pac-12 championship game, the winner has to leapfrog Alabama, who's not doing anything.
You think?
You would think, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. What would you say right now? If everything goes as planned, you have a 1-loss Utah, 1-loss Oregon, who ends up winning that game against another 1-loss team, who do you think is more likely to get in? The Pac-12 team with 1 loss or Alabama?
Alabama.
I agree.
Yeah. I
agree, and that is the biggest crock I've... that would be the biggest disgrace this college football committee's ever done.
It's because money rules everything.
Yes.
Like, money's going to rule, and Alabama's going to be a whole more money to play off than Oregon or Utah. Especially Utah. Utah
doesn't have a prayer.
Utah, Minnesota not bring any money. The committee is praying that Utah, Minnesota lose the game.
Yes, that's their best case scenario. And Baylor. Baylor has to lose.
Baylor can't
They don't want to back themselves into that hole. So, Minnesota finally plays somebody, and they beat Penn State. Penn State looked like one of the best teams in the country. Minnesota goes out there, wire-to-wire winner. Is Minnesota good at football?
Confirmed good at football.
Confirmed good at football. I don't know what more you can say about that. What should their ranking be now with this win? Not what will it be, but what should it be? And it's funny because last week we actually predicted what it would be whenever we said if they win this game, they would be sandwiched right between the Pac-12 teams. So, knuckles there. We called that. What do you think it should be?
I think it should be ranked... I guess it'd be 6th, right behind Georgia, but right ahead of the Pac-12 teams.
I don't even know if you can rank them below Georgia at this point. What should it be? Because that win against Penn State is better than what Georgia has, and Georgia has lost to a team, basically, that Minnesota's played all year. A bad football team like South Carolina.
That is true.
I think you have to put them at... I think you have to put them above Georgia.
Screw it. Put them at 5. Put them at 4. And yet, put them at 5-4. 4-6. Somewhere there where they probably should be ranked at, but they won't be ranked there. They're going to be ranked 7th. Because they're going to be in between Oregon and Utah because that will sort itself out.
Yes, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
And then when it sorts itself out, Alabama pops up into the top 4 again.
Yes. No, it's exactly what it will be. I really think that the committee is going to do the exact same thing that the AP poll had done. They're going to sandwich them in there between the Pac-12 teams. But I really think that this Minnesota team needs to be right there, ranked right either below Alabama or above Alabama with all the other teams that have ran the table and have beat quality opponents. This team resume is just as good as anybody else's that is undefeated. Probably even better than Clemson's, but obviously it's not as good as LSU or Ohio State, so you can't do that to those teams.
No.
So, Week 12, college football preview, latency. This is the weirdest week that we have probably ever had to pick for ranked matchups. We have 5, and that's a lot.
That's what we had all season.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, 25 teams ranked in the top 25. 10 of them are playing each other. First, Indiana. Indiana is now ranked 24. That's probably the most bizarre thing we've had to talk about this year.
Have they been ranked in the past decade?
I know that there was one year that they played Ohio State tough, and they ended up sneaking into that 24-25. I think maybe it been 25 was the highest. So you have Indiana at 24 taking on Penn State off of the Minnesota loss. Penn State is a 16.5-point favorite. Who do you like?
Penn State's gonna be bound. Beat Indiana. I didn't know Indiana was good at football until yesterday. So I'm just gonna go with Penn State.
Whenever I looked at you, I said Indiana's ranked, and you're like we said we had like 2 minutes where we probably didn't say anything. We're like, what? Like, it's crazy. It's bizarre. Indiana is riding an all-time high. Penn State is riding an all-time low. This is a disaster for Indiana. Penn State is going to mop the floor with them. Number 21, Navy at 16, Notre Dame. This is another weird one. Navy always finds their way in here. Just so happens it comes when they play Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 10-point favorite. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Navy just for Navy win this game.
Oh, yeah, dude. We were recording this on Veterans Day. We cannot pick against Navy. I think Navy's going to go in there, triple option them to death. They're going to run the football down their throat. They're going to win this game. I don't think Notre Dame's as good as what has been advertised. You look at last week, Duke ended up picking them off, I think, 2 or 3 times. Navy's defense is going to be better than what Duke brought to the table. I really like Navy in this game. Next up, number 5, Georgia at 13, Auburn. Auburn is a 9-point underdog. Who do you like?
It was really tough for me because you don't know what Auburn team you're going to get.
And you don't know what Georgia team you're going to get.
Evidently not anymore, but I'm going to go with Georgia. Basically, I think Georgia's a more talented football team. I think it would be an extremely tough game being on without Auburn. But I think Georgia, even if they lost to South Carolina, they're still they're still a talented roster.
Yes, this is Jake Fromm playing himself 2 years ago. You know, with Bo Nix. Like,
oh, yeah.
You're playing in a team that does not want to that does not want to have to be forced into passing the football a ton. I think Georgia's going to win this game. I think this is one of those times that, like, the experience from Jake Fromm is actually going to pay dividends, because whenever you look at these teams, they're very similar teams. I do give the edge to Georgia, though. Freshman quarterback at Auburn, big game for him. Hasn't really stepped up in these moments. He did week 1, but very inconsistent play by Bo Nix. I got to give it to Fromm. Isn't that bad whenever I say that I'm giving Fromm a notch up in a big-time game whenever I just say his consistency? Mm-hmm. That's bad. That's a bad sign for Auburn this week. Number 7, Minnesota at number 3, Iowa. Iowa is a 3-point favorite.
I'm going to go with Minnesota.
I'm going Minnesota too.
I want to see it happen. I want to see it roll.
Yeah, and they're the better team. I just feel like they're going to be able to score on them. They were able to score on a much better defense in Penn State. I don't think that this offense is going to be slowed down. Next up, number 10, Oklahoma at number 12, Baylor. Oklahoma is a 10-point favorite in this game. Leighton C., what do you like?
I mentioned I want Baylor to win this game just so we can keep going undefeated and keep making the committee make those tough decisions. I think Oklahoma won, lost Kansas State. Totally before Kansas State, another team that can beat anybody because of how they play. Oklahoma is a much better team than Baylor. I think they're going to. No, I can't put it to Baylor a little bit.
I actually think that you're correct on this. I think this is a game that Oklahoma can win going away, which bums me out. I think there is a route for Baylor to win, and it looks much like the second half of Iowa State versus Baylor, where Iowa State just said, hey, all we're going to do, run the ball down your throat, and we're going to throw it to our big targets because you can't stop them. If Baylor, which Baylor is one of the best coached teams in the country, they're right up there with Minnesota as just every single time they step on the field, their coach is better than your coach. Their coach can game plan better than your coach. And if Baylor sticks to the script, Baylor will win this game. But I think Baylor, they have not came off the script yet. And I have a feeling that Lincoln Riley's going to dial up just enough to be able to put up enough points to beat an offense in Baylor that's not great, but it is good. So, lock bet of the week. Leighton C., where are you going?
I'm going to go with Wake Forest plus 33.5 at Clemson. The Wake Forest team was ranked last week, then they had a pretty bad loss past week, but they're playing a lot of teams close. And
They play everybody close.
33.5 points is a shit ton of points.
That's 5 touchdowns.
That's literally a 5-touchdown game. So I'm going to take the hint, and Clemson had not looked that great this season. What's his name? Trevor Lawrence didn't look that great until 2 weeks ago. But at the end of the season, I'm going to take Wake Forest plus 33.5.
I absolutely love that bet, actually. My bet that I like Florida Florida -7 against Mizzou. Mizzou's only scored 21 points in their last 3 games, and they played Vandy, Georgia, and Kentucky. They actually lost to Vandy 3 weeks ago. The offense has been absolutely terrible with Kelly Bryant being hurt. He hasn't played any of the last 3 games. Even if Kelly Bryant doesn't play, this is an absolute lock. -7 is the absolute lock of the century. But if he does play, I still think it's a lock because I don't know how healthy he will be, missing 3 weeks, then having to play against Florida, a team that gets after the quarterback, that puts pressure on you. I absolutely love Florida this week. Leighton C., very weird week. I think you have to dig kind of deep to find a top 25 team that will be on upset alert this week. But who do you like?
This one was easy. Texas is going to lose at Iowa State. Texas, 6-3.
Did you see the spread on that game?
Iowa State 7.
-7.
7 now.
Yes, they will lose.
Yeah. Taking that game, Iowa State lost to Baylor at Baylor by 2 this season. Last week, they lost to Oklahoma by 1 at Oklahoma. Texas 6-3. Texas is so overrated. They're literally just ranked because money rules everything, and a ranked Texas team will make more money than a ranked anybody else. So Iowa State will beat Texas.
Yes, I absolutely think you can lock that in as them beating them. I went a little deep on trying to find one that was like the true plus. UCLA, I think, is going to give Utah a little bit of fits. UCLA has scored 30 points in 3 straight games now. The offense has been looking good for Chip Kelly. I don't think that UCLA can win. I don't think they will win this game. But if there is a team that is an underdog this week playing a top 25 team, it will be UCLA to beat Utah. The offense is very, very prolific when it gets going. The trick is getting it going. I think there's a route to where UCLA can pull off this upset this week. They actually scored 42 points on Arizona State a couple weeks ago, which is like impossible to do on a Herm Edwards defense. So, Leighton C., each week we watch a ton of sports television, listen to a ton of sports radio. We listen to a lot of bad takes. But what is your shittiest take of the week?
So my take of the week comes from probably my favorite sports talking head, and Dan Patrick. So, Drake, at the head,
usually Dan Patrick's pretty good.
He's really good. He's always right that line, and making anything too controversial to be really considered a shit take. But this morning, he kind of shit the pants a little bit.
Okay, I'm ready to hear. I'm all about this.
So as a head coach, Drake, you coach youth sport. What's one of the biggest things you have to go as a head coach? Culture.
Yes.
Like from day,
you have to get people to buy in.
Like year 1, day 1, minute 1. Culture. You gotta get buy-in because what you believe as a head coach trickles down to every other part. Players, coaching staff, everything. All follow your lead. You're talking today about how, have you noticed how when something good happens for the Cowboys, we credit Kellen Moore? When something bad happens to the Cowboys, we discredit Jason Garrett? Seems kind of not fair. And no, I think that's totally fair to discredit Jason Garrett. Because 1, he's been there for like a decade, not got anything done ever. And 2, he's an offensive-minded guy. He has to have some influence on Kellen Moore and what gets called. Last night, the Vikings just shut down Zeke. They put up a sign that says Zeke's not going anywhere, and that's what happened. The Cowboys had to become more creative with Ezekiel Elliott. And yes, Dak Prescott is playing great behind Kellen Moore. But Jason Garrett has to be like, hey, Kellen, we went 15-1 one season with Elliott had 1,800 yards rushing. We're going to get back to that, because that's how we won the games.
Yes.
So, no, I think it's totally fair to put most of the blame on Jason Garrett. I don't blink an eye at all when we say Jason Garrett messed this game up.
No, I absolutely agree with you 100% on that. This loss does go back onto Jason Garrett, because Jason Garrett is the guy who has been there for 9 years and basically just done nothing other than tread water. Jason Garrett has been abysmal, dude. So I looked this up yesterday during that game because we always ask the question, what is Jason Garrett good at? We know whenever a coach is supposed to be defensive-minded. We know whenever a coach is supposed to be offensive-minded. But what is Jason Garrett? We don't know what Jason Garrett's true identity is.
According to Tim Dilfer today, he's offense.
Yeah, I looked it up yesterday. I found the answer. And this is the most Jason Garrett way to get hired. Jason Garrett's dad worked for the Cowboys. He was in with the scouting department for the Cowboys. He brought his own son in so his son played, I think, in like that overseas football league that didn't really. I think they had a few good seasons. It was like the European Football League or something. It was loosely connected to the NFL. And he played over there for a little bit. Went a whole season without playing at all. So then his dad steps in, brings him in for a tryout. They end up signing him as the third-string quarterback where he sat on the roster for 6 years. Well, what happens whenever you sit on the roster in the NFL for 6 years as a backup quarterback? Other teams will take you on their roster as a backup quarterback to groom other young players. Mm-hmm. He went on, played a few seasons elsewhere, and then ended up going on to Miami where he was like a quarterback coach under Nick Saban. Does Jason Garrett getting a job based on his dad be the most Jason Garrett thing possibly
absolutely.
ever? Because now we always look at Jason Garrett as like the son of Jerry Jones. So I absolutely love that. I'm glad we actually got to talk about Jason Garrett a little bit there. My shittiest take of the week, though, goes to a video. It is Skip Bayless. This week he posted a video on his Twitter. And he might have commented that it might have been a little bit of an overreaction, but it was Jason Garrett walking into the room in his house in a Dak Prescott jersey with something wadded up into his arms. He walks over to the trash can, pulls the thing out of his arms, and it happened to be a Zeke Elliott jersey. He wads it up, and what does he do with that jersey?
Probably throws it in the trash can.
Throws it in the trash can, turns around, shakes his head, walks away. The symbolism in this is just the best thing ever. It's that Skip Bayless, just like whenever Skip Bayless gets something in his head, he just does not come off of it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the guy came in, Zeke Elliott came in with 3 straight games of 100 yards rushing, which is like impossible to do anymore in the NFL. Yeah. Death taxes Zeke Elliott, the ultimate running back in the NFL, the best running back in the NFL, not even close to number 2. I mean, the guy is just. He's the best. He's the best. And Dak Prescott is not even a top 10 quarterback. He's wearing the Dak Prescott jersey proudly and throws the Zeke Elliott jersey in the trash can. If that does not sum up Skip Bayless's career that he's made millions and millions of dollars doing, I don't know what does. I feel like that's just like the most laughable, and there's been a lot of laughable stuff that Skip has done. I think this is number 1.
It has to be. I think number 1. I mean,
how many times?
Ezekiel Elliott the best running back in football?
Not even close.
We thought Saquon was, close second, but this year isn't anything at all.
No.
Ezekiel the best running back in football. That's Ezekiel Elliott. The guy was nothing. They had 15-1 one
Dude,
time.
I gave you the stat that Dak Prescott is 1-9 whenever Zeke Elliott doesn't have 75 yards rushing. 75 yards rushing is hard to do in the NFL.
Yeah. How crazy is that? 15-1 at one point.
That is crazy. Well, it was all on the back of Zeke and a good offensive line.
But hey, throw it away.
Throw it away. Get that jersey out of here. Zeke Elliott. This might be a little crazy. I think Zeke Elliott's probably the best running back in Dallas Cowboys history. I really do. I think
he might be.
He is that good. And for you to say that Dak, just what that video represents is just so laughable. It reminds you that this is the guy that said for the last 10 years that LeBron wasn't the best player in the NBA. It reminds you of all the crazy stuff that he said. It reminds you that he said that Aaron Rodgers is not a good quarterback this year. It reminds you of everything. Mm-hmm. And for this one video sums up Skip Bayless's whole entire career. Oh man, I wish you'd have just had all of his notes for like today's show and just threw those in the trash too. So NBA news. Right when we thought Gordon Hayward was starting to look like the Gordon Hayward of Utah, he's out for a few months with a hand injury. How bad is this for the new look Celtics team?
Not very good, but they'll be able to survive because the East is reverted back to what it was about 5 years ago. They turned on to come up for a few years, and they got the new good team with the Bucks and the 76ers, and the old good teams and the bad teams, but they'll be fine. But hand injuries in NBA, they're a big deal because you dribble with your hands.
Yep, you happen to use your hands a lot.
A whole lot in every sport, but they'll be okay.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that like it's survivable because you do build your roster deep. And the hand injury, he's going to come back with a couple months left right before the playoffs. They will, with or without Gordon Hayward, they are still going to be a top 4 or 5 seed. If they are able to tread water well enough, I think they will be a top 4 seed. But I don't think this is going to be like a death sentence to the team. You'd rather an injury like this happen early. I think they're going to be just fine, though. He'll get back in time for the playoffs. And this injury will not be nearly as hard to overcome as the one that he had previously had. That's
there's no way.
Simple as that. So, Dion Waiters, suspended for 10 games for eating an edible and having a panic attack on an airplane. Probably the funniest sports thing that we've had happen this season. I think it goes in the Sports Hall of Fame for dumbest stuff that a player has ever done that we can laugh at. You know, people have done a lot of bad stuff that we can't laugh at, but as far as laughable moments in sports history, this has to be in the Hall of Fame. Where would you rank this all time in the Dummy Sports Hall of Fame?
Number 2.
Number 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Phony number 2. Because number 1 will never be beaten ever.
What's number 1?
Number 1, it goes to every player who failed the drug test at the NBA or NFL Combine.
Zach Mettenberger.
Zach Mettenberger.
You always remember who the guys are that failed the drug test at the
that
Combine.
is number 1 because you just flat out know the day you're taking it.
Yes.
Like you know the day part of the time too. You probably know the down to the minute when you're taking that piss, and you can't pass that one.
You know, honestly, you know probably 4 or 3 years in advance.
That's true, yeah.
Whenever you go to college, whenever you sign on the dotted line to commit to a college, to go play sports in college, and you have a chance to go on to a professional sport, you can look it up and see when the Combine's going to be in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, you can.
You know that day.
Yeah, so that's number 1.
That is number 1. I agree with you. That is number 1.
Yeah, but a couple other good ones is Josh Gordon pissing hot, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 times. 4 times in his career. And then number 3 is, this is just my personal favorite dumb athlete story ever. Titus Young. Listen, twice in a week.
Twice in a week.
The first time he got
Hey, that's almost as good as Mark Walton, who's arrested 3 times this offseason, who was playing for the Bengals, which that made sense.
Saw that, yes. Titus Young got DUI, got arrested for that, obviously got a car impounded. Got arrested 2 days later for trying to break into the impound lot to break out his car.
That is awesome. Okay, I have a serious question for you. What do you think is dumber for Titus Young's sporting career? The fact that he got arrested twice in a week, or the fact that he came out whenever he was with the Lions and said that he was better than Megatron?
Oh, definitely it's the latter.
Yes.
Because, like, they're both insanely dumb, but you're just not better than Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson making a case for the best wide receiver of all time.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think him saying that he was a better wide receiver than Calvin Johnson because, you know, the DUI thing, like, that's happened to a lot of athletes. You know, like, yes, you should have your own personal driver if you're at that point. You know, like, obviously taxis are an option. But then breaking into the lot is pretty, like, that's very, very dumb. I would put that as, like, a, 9.5 out of 10, but saying you're better than Megatron whenever you were like the 5th wide receiver on a team, that's a 10 out of 10. I had the Cam Newton laptop scandal where he had like stolen the laptop and then they came to like check down his apartment, so he opened up the window and threw the laptop out the window, which happened to be right by the door that they walked back out of. I thought that was a pretty stupid one. Latrell Sprewell choking out PJ Carlissimo in a practice. I think that was a pretty dumb one. Gus Frerotte, whenever he was celebrating and headbutted the stands and ended up almost knocking himself out. That was up there with that. But yeah, I think it lies right up there, like you said, right below the NFL drug test at the combine drug test, either NBA, NFL. I actually agree with that. What an all-time moment.
Oh, yeah.
You know that's not the first time he's eaten an edible either.
Oh, no. He's definitely a vet of the edibles. You don't take your first one on a flight.
On a flight, mid-season. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Good job, Dion Waiters. Where's Dion Waiters even at right now?
Cleveland?
I don't know. I feel like he's like the ultimate journeyman where like he just bounces around for a while, you don't hear about him, and then, Dion Waiters had a 30-point game.
Yeah, I'll go find out because I have no idea where he's at.
Yeah, that's kind of bizarre. All right, next up, the Clippers were fined this week for sitting Kawhi Leonard due to load management. Do you think that it is fair? He's with the Heat. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you think that it is fair for teams to be fined now for the load management benchings?
Is it fair? No. No, it's definitely not fair.
Absolutely
because they signed the player, he is their asset, the player's okay with load management. All part of the final third except for the audience who watches Jonathan Antetokounmpo go up against the Clippers without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
That's why it happened. If they were facing off against the Utah Jazz, even another very good team, it would not have happened. But the fact that they were playing Giannis, and that definitely hurt TV views and ratings, and people bitch on Twitter, Instagram about that's what matters. Not the fact that they're taking care of the league's best player.
Yeah, and hats off to the Clippers for just coming out and saying, "Yep, we just benched him because it was load management." Like, dude, we had the Warriors the other day. Klay Thompson's hurt, Steph Curry gets hurt, and then all of a sudden, Draymond Green has a nagging injury where he's going to be benched for a little bit. And they make up some kind of injury to say that he has to miss some time. Like, all the time, they just come out and say, oh, yeah, he has this nagging injury, and we're just going to let him get through it. Oh, just so happens we have, 3 of our best players who all have nagging injuries that we're going to bench this night as well. Clippers just came out and said it. Like, hey, this is load management. We're just getting ahead of it. We're benching him because we want to win a championship. And it seems like everybody that complains about the players taking the day off because they didn't do that back in my day. Back in my day, they didn't take days off. Those same people are the same people that argue that there should be that titles are the only thing that matter in sports. They're the same people that Michael Jordan's best in the NBA history. He went 6-0 in championships. Well, in order to win championships now, 82 games is a little bit of a stretch. You have to take some days off there in order to make things work. So I absolutely hate it. I hated that LeBron came out and basically, talked poorly about the load management. Whenever I think it seemed like LeBron was the first guy on this train because LeBron's never been hurt and he's only played 82 games in a season one time. Played over 83 times. It was just like the most hypocritical thing for LeBron to do. I absolutely love that Kawhi and the Clippers are getting ahead of it and saying, "Hey, he just wants to sit out because we have to win the we have to win the war, not the battle." So, wait and see. It is time. Saucy 6-pack of games. We will start it off this Thursday night. The Steelers versus a team with the ultimate pulse, the Cleveland Browns. Who's winning?
Steelers. Mainly I really want the Browns to win this game because the Browns losing is funny.
Yes, and it's going to be a laughable loss. I think the Steelers' defense is going to put on an absolute clinic. We will be talking about Freddie Kitchens getting fired next week because the offense is going to look so inept. I think that the Steelers are absolutely going to run the Browns. Next up, we have the Jaguars coming back with Nick Foles off the bye week, taking on the Colts.
Talk about some inept offenses. We'll go with the Colts.
I think Nick Foles is going to bring a little bit of a spark back to the team.
How do you feel about them benching Gardner Minshew for Nick Foles? Hey, hate to see it, but
I hate to see it, but you paid Nick Foles to win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have to play Nick Foles this point of the season now because if he is not that good of a quarterback, you know what you have on the bench going into next year.
Yeah.
So you have to play Nick Foles. I do think that the Jaguars are going to find a way to win this game. I think Nick Foles is going to be a little bit of a step up. I don't know if he's going to be as wild as Gardner Minshew. It's not going to be as fun to watch, but I think they do get the job done, especially coming off of the bye week. Next up, we have the Texans at the Ravens. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with the Ravens. We talked about the Texans last week. Just a walkout hurt. The secondary is already terrible. Got guys being up all over the place. Will Fuller still be out. Too many missing pieces for the Texans to pull off this upset against the Ravens.
Yeah, I think whenever you talk about games that Bill O'Brien always loses, this is one of those games. Mm-hmm. Bill O'Brien always loses this game. The Ravens, I think this is going to be where Lamar Jackson comes out and just absolutely lights the world on fire because he's playing a terrible defense. I like the Ravens this week. Next up, Patriots at the Eagles. Interesting matchup. Who do you like?
The Patriots are going to win this game because we have to have the bi-weekly conversation of how good is Carson Wentz.
Yes.
I had noticed that it's every other week. He'll win a game, great, finish like quarterback. Lose the game, how about his leadership abilities? Win the game, finish like quarterback again.
Whether or not he has 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks, if they win or lose, it's just all on Carson Wentz.
Yes.
I think the Patriots are going to win this. Obviously, coming off the loss, coming off the bye week, Patriots are going to take care of business in this one. So, Sunday Night Football. 2 of the worst offenses in the NFL over the last few weeks. The Chicago Bears at the Rams. Wait and see. What do you like?
Man, I really want to pick the Bears.
I do too,
because the Rams couldn't move the ball against the Steelers. But man, the Bears' offense is so bad.
Yes.
And I just can't imagine. Like, I have a hard time envisioning them how they're going to score touchdowns.
Me too.
So because of that, I'm going to pick the Rams.
Yes, they haven't. The Bears have not come out and confirmed that they're going to run a 2-minute offense the whole entire game. For that fact, I'm going to pick the Rams. The Bears' offense is bad. The Rams' offense is bad. But the Rams' offense at least can score a point. Can score a point. I think, unfortunately, this is probably going to be the nail in the coffin for the Bears season. Monday Night Football. We have the Chiefs at the Chargers. Wait and see. Who's winning?
I'm with the Chargers on the road. Derwin James should be back for this game. That's going to be a huge...
Oh, he's going to be back?
He should be back.
Wow.
This should be if anything went right with the recovery, week 11 would be the week where he returns.
Okay.
So I'm hoping everything went right for him. It's a huge, huge player for him, especially when they have Kelce over the middle, Hill over the top. I'm going with the Chargers in a big win next week.
I'm actually going to go with the Chargers too, especially if Derwin James plays. You know, the defense can get after it. The defense is very good. Phillip Rivers has to stop with the turnovers, and the Chiefs don't force many turnovers. So therefore, the Chargers are going to look good. Mm-hmm. In order to beat the Chargers, you have to make Phillip Rivers look bad. The Chiefs just don't have the defense to do so, and Derwin James is the ultimate game breaker in the back end of a defense. I have to go with the Chargers. So, wait and see. It is time that you go out and you watch your movies. You watch one. You might watch two. You might watch three. But you always bring in one for us to review. So what do you have for us this week?
So this week, I review a movie that's coming on Netflix. It's called Time Trap. I didn't realize it early came in 2017, actually. But it was a very small release, no real budget, so it probably wasn't in any theaters. A movie about a professor who enters a cave and goes missing. Some of his students, who care for the professor a whole bunch, go out on a search into the desert, into this very strange place where no one's been there for decades to find the professor. When they enter the cave, they start to notice that time in the cave goes
I haven't seen any previews for this.
No.
Okay, continue.
Time in the cave goes way slower than time outside the cave. So that was the little description on Netflix. It said, shit, I checked this out. Only an hour and a half long, I watched it before I went to sleep one night. Honestly, it wasn't bad. So the premise of time going way slower in the cave, outside the cave, kind of talks back to the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey, the Christopher Nolan movie, where the time we got farther from Earth and closer to these dark holes, gravity slowed down, time went way slower. Kind of went off that. This was just the cave, and it got kind of weird at the time because they would leave the cave and they would explore the world. And at the time, they didn't know how fast things were going. When they got out of the cave, it went from being what you thought as the watcher, as the audience, had been just a few hours, to being years going by in seconds. And that to me was super weird, because that's when it kind of got out of hand. Then to the cave, they retrieved a video camera someone dropped down from them, and it was dark in the video was dark. And they're like, how's it dark? We don't have half an hour. So that means, okay, we got, just hours passing, like hours being minutes. But no, you have years being minutes in this movie. So, without spoiling the ending, if you check out Time Trap, how they get out of the cave, you're going to think it's really cool, or you're going to think it's really freaking stupid. I thought it was really freaking intriguing, in a sense, so I'm going to get 1.6 dips. Okay movie, okay watch. If you want to watch Netflix tonight before you go to bed, just pop on Time Trap. It's an hour and a half long.
I've never been so confused in one of your movie reviews until
your
today.
face looked very confused.
I just don't see why you would want to make a movie about that.
I don't know. It'd be interesting. I wish they showed more of what's happening outside. Cause we only got to see the outside world. That really experienced the whole time shift thing maybe 3 or 4 times. I wish we could have saw it maybe 8 or 9 times, really get a feel for it, because we just have to go off of what they're experiencing. With this movie, not the bigger budget, didn't really get anybody great to write it, direct it, or act in it. Couldn't really relay that to us in the best way it could have.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep.
That would confuse me.
Interstellar also confused you, but this movie is literally half the time of Interstellar. So, if you want to get confused on a movie, watch this and not Interstellar.
Be short and sweet.
If you want to watch a really, really good movie but be confused for most of it, watch Interstellar.
Okay. I'll just save myself all the confusion, and I'll save myself an hour and a half of being confused.
Yep.
Any bold predictions for this sports week?
Yeah, I'm going to bet that Mike Trout does not win the MVP, and I'm going to bet that Garrett Cole does not win the Cy Young.
My bold prediction for this week is that let's go ahead and give the Bengals their first win. I say that they go on the road to the Raiders after being absolutely destroyed. The Raiders have been looking good, and since the NFL this year has made 0 sense, the Bengals are going to pick up their first win just because Joe Mixon actually looks like he remembered how to play football again.
He looked good.
He did look good. Anything else before we wrap this show up?
Nope. Thanks for listening, and if you're out there in the Midwest, stay warm.
And on that note, for Drake, for Leighton C, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.